Chapter 30. The Revelation. It was around 8 in the morning on Sunday. After 20 minutes crossing the gulf in their boats, they arrived at Jolly Drake's village. There a tall, dark-skinned man with braided hair named Jermaine Wilson received them and welcomed them to the dock. "Good morning, travelers. Welcome to Jolly Drake Village," said the gentleman kindly. Once at the pier they began to advance along it. The majority of the villa was built on rafts and wooden logs. The sea below the pier looked a little brighter. A sky-blue glow in the white sand on the shore. The lighting at the bottom of the sea was due to the coral reefs, and in the distance, when the weather is sunny and clear, you can see Captain Jolly Rosen Drake's abandoned ship island. "There is the island. Let's go right away," Tony shouted, pointing to an island that had a ship with deteriorated flags in the distance on the horizon. "No, it will be better to look for the sage first, then we will go to the island. Perhaps the sage will know the location of the summoning and thus not we will lose time. Remember that the island is very big," said Angie. "And where is the famous wise man? Do you know his location?" Tony asked with annoyance. "No, ha, ha." Angie responded, very embarrassed. "Bah, it just can't be. I thought you knew." Tony answered, "We can't ask just anyone. We have to think of a plan." Black said, "What if we do a poll?" Adrian said, turning his head to see if they saw people nearby to ask them. "Ha, yes, of course. Hello. Are you the sage of the Great Bay? Do you want them to see us looking crazy?" said Alvord sarcastically. "We could divide ourselves. The villa is very big," said Alessio. "It would be better to make a plan like Black says. I think that dividing us is a good option, as Alessio says, and consult with people, but in a not so direct way. Perhaps use a different description about the sage," said Mariah. "I agree with Mariah. We could consult with people using keywords, maybe not mention the sage, but ask about very spiritual people or someone who attracts attention in the villa," said Priscilla. "Just be careful. Look at what is there at the entrance to the villa," said Alessio. "Demons." What was missing? "Sentinels here too," Black exclaimed, annoyed. "And not only that, look at our posters on that wall. We are still the most wanted, ha 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 ha," said Alvord, pointing to a poster that was on a small wall. "Dead or alive. Reward, 10 million rods. Read Adrian. Angie, communicate to the ranch. Tell them that we have already arrived at the village," said Black. Angie contacted Gavin at the ranch, informing him that they had arrived to the villa and were in search of the sage and the summon. Naomi was informed that Tony was with the group safe and sound. "This is the plan. Let's divide up the villa. You already know the key words to use the moment someone gives you a clue or that person, that is the wise man himself, finds you. Let them know through the nav. Remember that the wise man will also be able to find us, as happened at the time with Percy, the princess and the animals of the fairy forest and the others," said Black. "There are 8 of us. Look over there. There is a lighthouse. There will be the point meeting. In an hour we will meet there in case we don't find anything," Priscilla suggested. The 8 divided themselves through the town. They entered through the main entrance. In this part, the buildings on the logs and rafts left the beach behind to find the town, where colonial architectural buildings could be seen, beautiful cobblestone and brick alleys. There were shops, restaurants, people selling souvenirs such as shell necklaces, sellers of crustaceans and marine animals, the lighthouse, the pier, the marina, the Gulf viewpoint, the statue of a mermaid and an anchor, the port where cruises, boats came, ships, fishing vessels from distant towns. Angie took the first path and decided to visit the first alley. There she visited a potions, elixirs and antidotes store. The owner was a tall guy, with light skin, mohawk hair and blue eyes, named Pierre Sokol. Leaving this, she visited a restaurant called the Coco. But none of the people in that sector knew anything about the person they were looking for. He even consulted with the owner named Sarah Gulstergalu, a blonde, thick girl with honey-colored eyes. And she recommended him to consult the other restaurants in the alley, so Angie went to a place called Crepe Flats. There a tall guy with braided hair and dark glasses named Evan Fabrowskis told her to leave the place if she didn't plan to order something to eat. To which Angie responded that he was a bitter subject, and finally, in the restaurants like Happy Crab, the Siren, Marlin Fish Lunch, there were not even people to canvass. In addition to the fact that the last one was closed, so in a resigned manner, he went towards the meeting point that Priscilla mentioned. On the second path, Black entered a street with cobblestones and bricks. There were sellers of necklaces and souvenirs in this part, ladies and gentlemen. Young people and children selling hammocks and sheets with beautiful designs such as butterflies, toucans, sailfish, corals and others. Black consulted a short, light-skinned, brown-haired, ponytailed girl named Abby LaPeelbet, but she didn't know what he was referring to either. So he told her to consult the front post where a tall young man with freckles his cheeks, with blonde hair and blue eyes named Felix Shad also couldn't give him a clue. The swimsuit and straw hat seller next door advised Black not to consult with Agatha and Sabrina, two twins who dressed similarly, black hair and green eyes, where in their free time from surfing, they sold souvenirs at the end of the street. Since they only liked people to buy their products and not waste time talking to them, so Black turned back and went towards the lighthouse. Tony took the path to surround the lighthouse and the entrances to the docks. There he found two twins named Lucas and Alfonsinho, two dark-skinned guys. They were wearing a green t-shirt, blue and green shorts. Both very kindly told him that at the end of the street in the marina where the yachts were, there someone could help him with more accurate information, so he approached that place. There were three older adults, a dark-skinned lady with a huge hat, a long yellow dress, flowers with a petticoat named Carmen Stojkovic, a tall, gray-haired man named Blaine Baxter, and finally a lady named Jasmine Clare, a girl with brown hair, dark eyes, and a red blouse. Tony approached them, but they told him that they wouldn't give him the floor unless he had a yacht like them, so Tony swore at them and said, "You insolent rich guys," and he went back to the lighthouse. Alessio took the path that led to the entrance of the Park Trail, a wildlife refuge, which was a sector of the jungle that people visited with trails and lodges. However, to enter this sector, you had to have a special pass, so he couldn't enter, but there he found a short lady, with black hair very long to her waist, brown eyes named Lubyanka Jill. "You can call me Lulu dear, come. I'll offer you some souvenirs for the tourists," said the woman. Lady, she offered him photographs. Alessio thanked her but he was not interested. He just wanted to know information about the person who was consulting him. But she had no idea of a person with those characteristics, so Alessio returned to the meeting point. Mariah visited a place called Terraglossus Aracari Ecolodge. It was a beautiful hotel built at the height of the trees and palm trees, where you could see the view of the sea and towards the tail of the whale. There she arrived at a viewpoint where the main lobby was located. There were some tourists there, so she quickly checked, but to her bad luck, one of those people named Cecilia Lindsay, a tall, thin woman with green eyes and long brown hair, got angry and called the hotel security, so Mariah was taken away from the scene. And she fled because she was afraid that the sentinels would be called and discovered even if they were wearing their hoods, so she returned to the meeting point. Priscilla went towards the alley of the colonial architectural buildings. This sector is called the Kathleen's, beautiful brick homes, rustic terracotta roof, those white walls, a cobblestone alley. This sector had several segments, one higher than the another, since this part of the town had been built on a rock. At the peak of this there was a lighthouse next to a statue of Eshin and some sea mermaids. as well as a statue of Captain Jolly Rosen Drake. Since for the town he was an extremely important character, the area of the Great Bay to the south, an area far from the center of Pizcet, was colonized by this pirate. When he first arrived with his ship, he formed good alliances with the local government, reaching an annexation to this, without being an independent territory. However, according to legend, he betrayed them, since he wanted to loot the Savagreb cave to steal the metals and precious stones, so the Lunesk station and the city council of that time sent him as punishment to a prison on the island, where he finally died, and his boat was left there in ruins, where it is now a highly visited tourist area. Priscilla entered the places in the first segment called Monkey Coffee, Fire Brew and St. Clement Treehouse, where the owners of these places, Unilane Carr, a thick lady with dark skin glasses, Amy Berryfloor, a tall lady with blonde hair and dark eyes, he told her that he was related to the mayor of Pizcet and Alexandria Reds, a woman with reddish hair, light skin. He gave Priscilla a pamphlet about a comedy and ventriloquism show at the Pizcet Theater next week where she would be doing a presentation. They were enjoying a coffee on the outskirts of the alley. And when Priscilla thanked them for the pamphlet, they told Priscilla to continue up the alley and perhaps the lighthouse guard at the lookout could help her, so she continued moving forward until she arrived at a place called Green Rock. It was a bar and at the same time a craft beer factory. There the owner Pepijn Bjorn Halstorsen, a tall, blonde guy with brown eyes, told her to consult the surf school inn at the front. There, Priscilla asked two girls named Leilani Donahue, a blonde girl with blue eyes, and Brissa Fillingham, a girl with dark skin and slanted eyes, about the lighthouse guard, and they told her that he was a short, tall man, straw hat, with long braided hair, no shirt and a pearl necklace around her neck. So Priscilla continued until she reached the viewpoint. While there she noticed the beauties that could be seen from the top of the rock, where she could see the town below, the sea, the tail of the whale in the horizon. At that moment the man who was indicated to him appeared, a guy named Rainer Stringfield, who mentioned to him that there was an old shaman in the villa, but that he had not seen him for many years. It is believed that the shaman died a few years ago. We have not seen him here again. I have no idea where he lived on the island. I'm sorry I can't help you, girl, said the man, so Priscilla returned to the meeting point. Adrian went to the area of the Gulf viewpoint, where on one side of it, they performed meditation in the sea with manta rays and dolphins to swim and to do therapy with them. There he consulted Melania Kessler, a girl with medium-length black hair, short and thick, with dark eyes. She was the one who was carrying out the activity with these aquatic animals, but she mentioned having no references about of that person. So Adrian resigned himself and left the place, meeting Tony where he stared at him. How the hell did you get into that place? I once walked on the beach and a stingray attacked me. Its sting impregnated me with vaboga on my toe. Fortunately a girl who was my girlfriend gave me an antidote, and when I was little, they put one of those creatures on my back. It was a strange feeling. The teacher Hinata Nakamura at the dojo in the Wingshampton neighborhood alley told me that I had a vision or something like that, Tony mentioned. Really? You're crazy. I don't think something like that will happen, Adrian responded. And they both went to eat at a place that was nearby, and there they waited for the rest of their companions to get to the meeting point where they would meet in an hour. Finally Alvord went to a sector called Pizcetini, was a compact complex, white houses with blue roofs, without carriages. Horses are the machines that the Grand Campus had manufactured and put up for sale, completely walkable, based on the principles of new urbanism. In addition to which was a place where its streets had inclined slopes with their bricks arranged uniformly. This was the only place in the entire coastal town that had a tram that took people from two equidistant points in the same villa. There Alvord went towards a place called Pizcetopolis. which was like a museum where they exhibited marine fossils, skeletons of marine animals and relics that some people had found at the bottom of the sea. The peculiarity of this sector was its streets and shape. It was like a small citadel carved in stone limestone. There he consulted a guy named Morphy Faulkner, with long hair, a beard and light skin, about a person with certain characteristics. He mentioned that he had heard about a shaman but that he had died a few years ago, so Alvord left from the place and went to the meeting point where Adrian and Tony were already there. It was around 10 in the morning. Everyone gathered at the lighthouse, as Priscilla had mentioned. Alvord and Priscilla mentioned to the rest that they had received information about a shaman. The rest of the boys had only received insults, contempt, or people who simply did not want to help with information, but the doubt was about the shaman, who was known in the town. He said he had died. A few minutes passed, when suddenly a shirtless, dark-skinned guy with a white turban on his head, named Sunil Rajpushpendra, approached. "Good morning, guys. It's nice to know that you crossed the dense jungles without problems and survived the intense sun of the beaches," said the man. "Who are you?" Angie asked. "You already know me," the man answered honestly. "Know him? We had never seen it before." Black replied. "Ha ha. If you want to know why I know them, follow me," answered the man. What a strange accent he has," said Angie. "Are we following him?" Alex asked. "And is it a trap? How did he know that we crossed the jungle and the beach?" said Adrian distrustfully. "I'll follow him. Maybe he speaks the truth," said Tony. "Me too, let's go," said Black and Priscilla respectively. "Come on. I myself will make him confess his true identity," Tony said as he squeezed his knuckles. "Otherwise we will threaten to hit him with the whip," said Alvord. Everyone followed the man. The sun was radiant, it was very hot, the seagulls and pelicans sang as they flew, the sound of the waves musically set the small town. The man took a very different path from the one they had taken. He entered an alley that it had many steps. They began to climb more than 120 steps. They arrived at another viewpoint on a cliff, where there was a small house with a thatched roof. Its walls were made of wood. It was a house very different from the colonial architectural buildings that they had the other sectors. Upon reaching that place, everyone appreciated again how the rest of the town could be seen from above, the tail of the whale and in the distance, Jolly Rosen Drake Island, where the worn black flags of the abandoned ship still moved in the strong breeze. "Welcome, heroes. I am the pumas that accompanied you in the jungles. Welcome to the home of the shaman Tijanis Mustafas, wise men of the Great Bay," the man responded. "What?" Angie said. "It's true? Aren't you lying?" Black asked. "You didn't help us. When we joined that silly forest covenant, we were attacked by a storm and a tsunami that sent us to the bottom of the sea. We almost drowned. For me, you set a trap for us," said Adrian. "Oh, it can't be." "Adrian, shut up," Priscilla said, embarrassed. "Ha ha ha. I know what happened, and no, it was not my fault. The witches are powerful. There are certain things that we cannot stop, but in a moment you will realize many things. Move on, you are at home," exclaimed the man. Everyone entered the house. Inside, the man once again became the puma they saw in the jungle, so this generated more confidence in those in the group, seeing that what he said was the truth. "Follow me," said the puma. As they advanced inside the house, each segment had a curtain of small, thin bamboo canes. There were incense burning in many places in the house, plants, and the sound of someone meditating. Upon reaching a room, wooden drums, bongos and a string instrument similar to a banjo and a ukulele began to play. Inside it, there was a man sitting on his feet in the form of Virasana. He also had a turban on his head. His eyes had white pupils, he had spots of red paint on his cheeks, a necklace with white shells on his neck, his arms and feet had gold necklaces. He had a large white beard and his hair was braided. He had hands together. They had been in silence for more than 5 minutes. The room could be heard saying, Om, for a long time. Angie. What is that doing? Alessio asked. This meant that it is in your mantra. It is the origin of all the sounds and words in meditation. It is connected with your inner self, with the universe, and deepens it through meditation, Angie contextualized. The puma entered the room, sat next to the man who was meditating on a white sheet. Take seats, heroes, said the puma, so everyone began to sit on their legs in the same meditation position around the man, when suddenly he began to levitate for about 5 minutes. And then he came down, closed his eyes and said, Welcome heroes of the struggle, knowing you has helped me free myself. Hello sir, are you the sage? Asked Black. That's right young soldiers. My name is Tajanis Mustafas. I am the sage of the Great Bays, said the shaman sage with a different accent. You are supposed to, you are dead. That's what I said Priscilla, who cut off her answer. Yes, that's what several people in the village told us. Alvord interrupted Priscilla. That's right, Mustafas died many years ago. However, as one of the 12 sages, I am only a soul personified. At this moment you have freed me, as I mentioned, giving me more power. When the mission that I must give you is fulfilled, I will return to the chambers with the other sages, said the shaman. I was the one who spoke with the wise Diana. We wanted to know what help you can give us with the prophecy. That's why we came here, said Angie. For me it is a pleasure to help you. You have come to the right place. I am one of the sages who have the most power. That exempts me from the fact that the effects of the witch's prophecy cannot affect me with any words, said the shaman with his eyes closed thoughtfully. Lord, we need you to tell us everything you know and help us, said Mariah pleadingly. We also want to know about the summoning of the thunder deity, Thor, added Tony. In addition to that, we want to know about the whereabouts of a friend of ours from the group of heroes, named Marycross Toadsworth, said Alessio. Well, I will begin to give you the necessary clues. You have earned them. Not all people come here. You have crossed waters, sun, sand, jungles, caves. That is why I am here to help you. The test that you had to pass, they already overcame it. And it was necessary to reach the villa with their lives, said the shaman, crossing his fingers. We hear you, sir. Go ahead, tell us what you know. Oh great sage, said Black. Do you know who the witch? Angie asked. The witch has always been in front of you for many years. She was reincarnated more than 50 years ago in a girl, when the seal of the great cathedral was broken. This malevolent spirit sought out the first person aged between 0 and 5 with evil thoughts. It was when a little girl was possessed by the soul of witches. At her young age she began to develop all kinds of abilities that were not ordinary for a girl of that age. That helped him a lot to grow in all the fields in which he developed, said the shaman. Do you mean that he is someone who is in our school or in our group? Alessio asked. In the school, you see. The Professor Sylvanas is the Sylvanisha witches, said the wise man, and everyone was shocked and speechless. I have never seen that woman in person, said Tony, who still did not know the professor. I always knew, he shouted Adrian. It already seemed strange to me that her rise to power in recent years was so sudden. In addition to the fact that it was suspicious how strange events occurred and she was never present at those times, said Priscilla. Sir, a few months ago I had a conversation with her. I felt like she read my mind and knew everything I planned to say in that meeting I had with her. I never believed it was her, but I felt chills inside me. But what seemed most curious to me was not seeing. Her eyes are red with yellow, as the prophecy says, which refers to the witch as a person with yellow and red eyes. Both she and her vassals, Angie commented. The witch is powerful and you will always hide her identity. It will keep her in anonymity. She can read and control minds, however. She could not control you at that moment when you had the conversation with them, since you are not sufficiently devout and believers in Eshin, argued the shaman. What do you mean? Angie asked. This applies to all of you. You see, the prophecies will directly affect the Eshinites, those who are faithful believers. The majority of the people are. Those who are believers but not so practicing, it can affect them in a low percentage, and that would depend on how disciplined or trained their minds are. So that the evil effects of the Sylvanisha witches do not penetrate, and finally, non-believers, it exempts them from all this. Like you who, they are believers but with disciplined minds, said the shaman. That means that the founder of our house already knew about this. And that is why he changed the phrase from, may Eshin accompany you and be with you, to, may luck be with you. Accompany, said Black. That's right, the founder of your house was not Eshinites. A believer, yes, but with his mind disciplined. What Eshin's spiritual phrase causes is that it is a key for the witches to access your mind and, you control yourself. While the phrase that you have used this time is a shield against prophecies, said the shaman, we must continue using it. Said Tony out loud. Does that mean that's why, that the other houses that do not use our phrase, as well as the professors, will soon control them? Albert asked. That's right. Especially the descendants of the house that founded them, they have been under their power for several years. Also, remember that it will take her 12 years to come to power. She started this in 2001, there is only 1 year left for what she wants most to come true. You are descendants of the heroes of the last century, all of them were from the house of Jade Clovers. Now it is your generation in these times. The first generation that fought against Sylvanishas was its founder and its first students, said the shaman. Wow. I always thought they were people from different houses. That was our theory, commented Mariah. No, the other houses were only supports for the founder of the House of Jade Clovers. But the victors of the last returns of the prophecy, have been from their houses, are the ones chosen to be exempt from the penetration of witches into their minds and hearts. Soon, they will know what other ways to take over the souls and minds of people that witches use. The next wise men, is Sylvanisha her real name? Alessio asked. Yes. Many centuries ago when the Rhoda School was founded, she did not get along with any of the other founders, nor with the patriarchs of that time, or with anyone. There he began his legends, and he performed curses so that when he died, his soul would be transferred from generation to generation in those girls with hearts full of evil, every 100 or 1,000 years. That girl will be where the witches hide your souls under that name. Only in this way will the anonymity of your true identity be assured, said the shaman. But now we have a serious problem. She is now the director of the school, said Priscilla. Yes, just as the prophecies said it. This is how it should happen, in fact. Remember that a few years ago the directors and the head of the houses died. Sylvanisha murdered them while they were returning to their homes. Then you were blamed under the first sins. All of this, it had to happen. This is how it has happened on previous occasions. Now you must clear your names to be immortalized as heroes for life, said the shaman. Yes, the stupid first sin. That woman blamed us, the town, the school, everyone hates us, said Adrian while swearing. As I told you, her power has no limits, she controls everyone, said the wise man. What do you think her next plan is, sir? Asked Mariah. Well, I would advise them to keep these dates in mind. It is vital that they know it. They must defeat the witch Sylvanisha before December 12, 2012, the 12th of December 12 to be brief. She has everything the town's already under his power. He controls the armed forces of the Lunesque stations such as the Sentinels, he controls the schools, and he is about to take over the town halls. The patriarchs and the great cathedral, said the wise man. 12 of December. It's my birthday. Angie shouted in surprise. Well, it will be the end of the world on your birthday. Priscilla answered sarcastically. Do you think she will also murder them and take their power? Asked Alvord. It is probable, but if not, they can control them and make them work under their power. That is why she murdered the director. The former director had a fascination with you. She appreciated you. It was easier to kill them. Even if she could control her mentally, that's how she gained power in the collegios. The shaman answered. What do you think will happen from here? Asked Angie. Well, it's likely that she knows that her anonymity is decrypted. However, even if you go through the streets saying that she is the witch of the prophecy, they will not believe you. Some people do not know the story and others do. You must clear their names only by defeating them. Only then will the entire evil spell be completely eliminated. This time Sylvanetia must be eliminated completely, without protection seals, and only then will peace reign in the worlds, said the shaman. Does the future sound devastating? Asked Angie worried. Of course, the last time she destroyed everything in their footsteps, what we loved most was destroyed. I have no doubt that this time it will be worse. Every day the environment will get worse. Every day more people, demons, legends, will be on their side. They must unite even more. Become stronger to be ready for the battles. Look for your best weapons, the best allies. All the wealth, peace and prosperity of the people is in serious danger, said the shaman. What will happen on the 12th of December 12 if we lose the battle? Asked Adrian. It will be the end of the world as we know it. The vassals and minions will return. The resurrection of Zaitan will be inevitable and he will reign with it. Everything will be lost. The planets will align. The eclipses will be eternal. The worlds and dimensions they will be annexed. Comets will be seen approaching our world. I don't even want to think about them, said the shaman sadly. We must go defeat her immediately. Tomorrow when we return to school, said Tony bravely and standing up. Instead, I fear that she would kill you with a single blow. Young ninja, you must become stronger than you already are. Search for the remaining summons and weapons. Unite your group more. Your small army will win. But first you must destabilize to Sylvanetia along other paths before the final battle, said the shaman. Other paths? Adrian asked. Your army. You must eliminate those vassals, who still wander and resurrect there. I will give you these clues. Fire volcano, evil transmission. Network, the rebellion of their rivals, the Sawa female, the biological weapon with blood of the enemy, the chariot without steers, Snakerin the Catagus, the headless pontiff. Manage to redeem the betrayal by revenge. Eliminate all those clues. Follow those clues, they are my riddles, and if you manage to find it, and finish off the vassals and allied with them, he will be weak and his final battle will be victorious, answered the shaman. What is his true form? Asked Angie. Behind that face, serious and pleasant as directors, hides a demon that they would never want to know. I'll just tell you that it will be 6 big problems if that happens, said the shaman. What about the people who don't believe in us? Asked Black. Everyone in this place is possessed. These towns are they are cursed, but they do not represent problems for you. They are those vassals as I told you, said the shaman. What other reasons led her to fall on the evil side? Alessio asked. The fearsome and powerful Sylvanetian witches conjured the magic of the Zaitan minions. She fell to the evil side when many of the first teachers and founders of the schools did not agree with her ideas and policies, so they began to not take her words into account. So she decided to take revenge against these and against all those who were against his ideals and thoughts. In fact, as I told you, the founder of the House of Jade's Clovers was the first hero, followed by the following generations of that house. After falling into the evil powers of the minions and breaks the curse that he placed on her in the beginning, said the shaman. Is Professor Sylvana descendant number 7? Asked Angie. That's right, that's why it's vital for them. This returns, and once and for all dominate the world. Since the seal to send her to the crypt of the great cathedral does not exist, they must eliminate them completely. Thus she and Zaitan will be extinct. Since she currently possesses her powers as I mentioned, when his physical form was destroyed on previous occasions, his spirit always wanders like mists. He is not very noisy with his cries. Sylvanicius is a practitioner of necromancy. This allows them to divine and penetrate your minds, in addition to predicting the future. Through the summon of the spirits of the dead, hence the resurrection of Pizcet legends such as the Cry Maiden and the Banshee of the Graveyards, among others. Practices that attempt to conjure and subdue evil spirits to cause harm to the furthermore, she was capable of torturing and turning a person through her incantations, making the person go completely crazy until they died or, working for them under her orders. She can also know what they think through palmistry, if these in front of her. She will read your hands with her eyes and you will know what you will do. That's why, young archer, she knew all your intentions the day you went to talk to her, argued the shaman looking at Angie. What can she tell us about our friend Marycross? Alessio asked. She is fine. You will soon reunite with her. You must rescue her. I advise you to visit the wise Gr. in his home in the center of Pizcet in 2 months. He will appear and you will need something to keep you missing and be able to enter their place of residence to visit them. He will give them clues about their friend, and other clues, in addition to a new summoning deity. I will also ask them to protect what they love most. Sylvanicius is powerful. And will also end what do you mean by that? Asked Alvard. You will soon know. The next sages will give you the answers to the riddles that I just told you. So in 2 months, you must look for them. I have very little power left and I must return to the chambers. The shaman answered. Wait. What will happen with us at the school? Now we know her identity? Angie exclaimed. We don't know that. They may return to the dungeons, or she may want to kill them immediately. She may flee from you while increasing her powers to confront you where she feel invincible. When it raises its empire in its entirety, that is a mystery until now. The reincarnations of Sylvanicia have always had different perspectives on how to govern the world, but I ask you that for that date that I mentioned. You are celebrating the victories, otherwise, after that date, it will be the end of worlds and universes, said the shaman. We will do it. We promise. Trust us, Black replied. Do you know where the summon of the thunder deity Thor is? Asked Tony. After telling you about the identity of Sylvanicius, I will give you the paths of the 2 new celestial deities. The summon of Thor is found on the island of Jolly Drake, on the abandoned ship, and on that islands, you must go up to the lighthouse sanctuaries. On the highest peak, there rests the deity of light, Rajmas. So take the sacred censer, take it to the lighthouse sanctuary as an offering for Rajmas, and the lightning talisman as an offering to Thor. Young ninja, take them to their sanctuaries. They will be 2 useful and powerful weapons in your fights, explained the shaman before leaving. Thank you very much, sir, we will not fail you. Angie replied. The shaman closed his eyes again and began to levitate, where a white glow appeared. He and his puma disappeared. So everyone left the cabin where they were and decided to go to the abandoned ship island. Listen, we will go to the island, we will obtain both summons and we will return to the villa. We will eat something while we send a message to Gavin to tell Joel to come for us before nightfall and be at the ranch in 7 hours. Angie told the group, around 2 in the afternoon. They left for the island. They arrived at the workers' dock where the boats were. There was the wife of the owner of the boats on the other side of the gulf, Aisha Zerdin, who also dressed in a conical straw hat and a blouse with a poppy design. He rented them 4 boats for 2,000 rods and they paid for the trip to abandoned Boat Island. It was an island with a prison past. The boats left in the afternoon on the calm blue ocean. It took them about 20 minutes to reach the island. Once on the island, they observed the old Pizcet prison, where the Lunesque station sent the town's top criminals. It is currently disabled. Ha, ha, ha. They would have sent us here if it were in operation, said Tony. After the closure of the prison, it was now a tourist place. This place has a mausoleum-style building covered by a white marble dome. It is a walled group of buildings also white, followed by the path that leads to the cliff, where find the lighthouse of the Rajma sanctuary, in addition to its white marble columns that also decorate it, followed by many totems that are found around it. In addition, in another sector of the island there is also a small jungle, full of biodiversity, seagulls, pelicans, dodos, sea turtles, Komodo dragons, dolphins, sharks, hammerhead sharks, whales, coral reefs, frigates, iguanas, lizards, cormorants, albatrosses, sea lions and penguins, as well as large gardens covered by bird plants. Paradise. It is said that among the foliage of these is hidden the legend of a phoenix, although many of the locals have mentioned that it is a rag bird of paradise, which gives its name to those gardens, and has a slightly resembling a phoenix. The Papapu natives lived on this island, islanders who wore white masks with slanted eyes and red tears. Their hair in mushroom-shaped half-length hair, straight brown hair, and not wearing any shirt. Only a loincloth made of green tobacco leaves, spears and other sharp weapons, arrows, harpoons and shields. There is just a souvenir stall owned by a woman named Ariana de Sobosali. She was selling a gold spear, bayonet, from that tribe. So Tony bought it for 12,000 rods to take it to his friend Naomi, where he thought it would be ideal, for that was his last weapon. The island is famous for diving and snorkeling among tourists who visit from Pizcet. At sunset, this island from the high viewpoints at the Villa Jolly Drake, when reflected in the sea, forms a violin, thanks to its perimeter reflected in the sea, and in addition to the abandoned ship with its old sails, they form as if it were the mast of the violin. Finally, there is the old dock, where the entrance to the abandoned ship is. So the boys headed to this place. They crossed the long dock until they reached the ship. It is the fastest ship in all the seas, using black sails. Torn apart, it has an armament of 32 cannons, its black sails, with skulls and crossed bones, are its main characteristic to differentiate itself from the others, and its speed is superior to any ship. This allowed Jolly Rosen Drake, captain and owner, get anywhere he wants. Inside it is a portrait of Jolly Rosen Drake, a tall guy, with his big black hat, an extensive and bushy beard down to his hips, where it could be seen full of shells and starfish attached to him. Once the boys reached the upper deck, they decided to split up to look for the sanctuary of the Thor summon, which was located somewhere on the ship. The ship was made up of several sectors: the anchor at the bottom of the sea, the deck below, the artillery deck, holds, cabins, chimneys, its masts with their flags, where one of them had a dome where the crew members could see the horizon with a telescope, and of course the captain's room where the rudder was located. We must divide up. There are many areas. 4 of us will go to starboard, and the others will go to port, said Tony. Angie took the path of the sails, checked the masts, the cupola and the captain's room where the rudder was, but found nothing. Black went down to the chimneys that created the ship's steam and made it move to navigate, but there, the rusting gears and empty coal boilers showed no sign of any sanctuary. Alessio went up to the cabins, and checked all the rooms, but without finding anything important. Alvord checked the cellars. In them he found the golden whip, chain flail, his last weapon. Among some wooden boxes he found a note that mentioned that it was used to whip those slaves who were sent to the warehouses as a prison, and who did not obey the captain's instructions. But he found nothing about the sanctuary. Adrian checked the artillery deck. There he found many grenades, explosives that he could use with his ring. However, searching among the cannons and bullets, he did not find any sanctuary. Mariah and Priscilla checked the deck, both the upper and lower ones and their segments, but they did not find anything either. Tony went down to the room where the anchor. There he found two switches. One was the one that lowered the anchor and the second was next to a door. So with his hands he touched the switch and it opened a door. Inside this place there was a sculpture of a woman tied or being part of the bilge of a ship, covered by algae, shells and other marine animals. Below the sculpture there was a chest which was closed. Tony noticed that this place was illuminated by some candles that appeared out of nowhere, and a specter in the shape of a man appeared in front of him. "Who are you?" Tony asked. "Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you. You have come for the celestial deity of thunder, Thor. She lies here in her sanctuary caring for her Valkyrie, the one in that sculpture," said the human silhouette. "Yes. My friends and I looked for her," Tony responded. "Have you brought the offering of the lightning talisman? I am Captain Jolly Rosen Drake. The summoned Thor was with me when I was alive. Now the shaman has told me that they have sold for him to ally him with the army against the evil witch Sylvanetia. I never wanted to plunder this island. I only discovered it, and Sylvanetia in my time condemned me to the first sin in prison on this island. Please deliver the talisman to the chest and the offering will be completed," said Captain Jolly Drake. So Tony took the talisman out of his pocket, gave it to the captain in his hand, and he, in his ghost form, opened the chest. In it there were many talismans similar to Tony's. And when it fell on top of the others, the offering was complete and a golden glow fell upon Tony. Finally the summoning of Thor had joined him. "Thank you very much, Captain," Tony concluded. Tony immediately left the anchor room and went up to the deck, where he was with the rest of his friends. They were all crestfallen since they had not found the shrine. But Tony told them that he had found it in the anchor room and the ghost of Jolly Rosen Drake he had delivered it at the shaman's request. So they all left the boat and took the path to the cliff where Rajma's shrine was to carry the holy incense. After leaving the ship, they began to advance along the jungle path, a very quiet place, without enemies. Then they crossed the gardens of birds of paradise, beautiful plants with large green leaves with their peculiar orange flowers in the shape of this endemic bird, where in the background, in the slightly gray sky, a beautiful rainbow could be seen. After passing the garden, they began to climb the path to the cliff. Up there they found the lighthouse, and inside it was a sculpture of a woman, colored white marble reclining and with a sheet of gold beads. There was a small altar in front of her, but everyone was wondering where they should put the incense. Suddenly a silhouette of a woman appeared. "Welcome, heroes. The great shaman told me about you. This is the sanctuary of Rajma, deity of light. I am Marajus Kinkara, former guardian of Rajma. Give the offering and she will be with you to help you in your fight," said the ghost who was in front of them. "Mariah, you give the offering," Angie responded. "Really? But you?" asked Mariah. "Take it," Priscilla replied. Mariah delivered sacred incense on the altar and Rajma's spirit joined her. After this, a lamp appeared in the sanctuary, so she could return to the island in the future. After leaving the lighthouse, go down the paths and return to the island's dock by boat. The afternoon was already falling and the sky was beginning to be painted over the ocean. Angie told the others that when they touched land, they would go to eat something and call Gavin to inform him that the mission had been a success. Upon arriving at the place, they entered the Sabishi pub restaurant. There the owner, a guy with dark skin, slanted eyes and short gray hair named Killian Wong, took their order, and the whole group ordered a banquet, which included baked fish, octopus, lobsters, island fruit salads such as melon, watermelon, strawberries, berries, pineapple, coconut and mango, accompanied by drinks. While this was happening, Angie took her nav and called Gavin. Gavin, mission accomplished. Angie said, "Hey, great to hear that. Are you ready to return?" Gavin asked. "Yes." "Send the Zeppelin to the Mirador del Golfo in the villa," said Angie. "Okay, I'll inform Joel, Sebastian right away." "Over and out," she concluded. Gavin. After finishing eating in the pub, the group enjoyed a game of pool while it was 5 in the afternoon. The lights in the pub had gone out. There was live music. The place was dark, but very well decorated. With its architecture, rustic bamboo and wood, it would take the Zeppelin about 2 hours to reach the villa. "Where will we wait for the Zeppelin?" Adrian asked. "It will be better to go to the Mirador del Golfo. There are almost no people there. We will go unnoticed. There is a space so you can park, either by air or water, without a problem." "So we must wait for the boys in that place that Angie mentioned," said Black. That's how everyone left the pub and headed towards the Mirador del Golfo. It was a place similar to a terrace on the beach, with brick architecture. It had a parapet where people usually sat to appreciate the sunsets. The sun went down to the west on the horizon. The 8 heroes were sitting on the parapet waiting for the ship to arrive for them. Many looked towards the sea and others at the sun, thinking about what the shaman's sage had told them and having the conviction that they would win this coming war. Angie, Mariah and the others watched the sun set for about 20 minutes, their gaze fixed on the front where the blue line of the sea ended. Finally, the sunset. There were still some rays and orange glow of the sunset. The artificial lamps of the town began to light up. And in the distance on the sea, you could see how the ships and small fishing boats turned on their lamps to illuminate themselves as they returned to the shore with their great rewards for their businesses and thus be able to take food to their homes after a day's work at sea. Around 6:30 in the afternoon, the Zeppelin appeared over the horizon, emerging from the water like a submarine, and positioning itself on the surface of the ocean like a ship, sailing a few meters and then taking flight. The boys were surprised that Joel and Sebastian had also managed to modify the ship so that it could sail below sea level, this with the help of Kevin Fernan, another boy in the room who had knowledge of mechanics and piloting like Sebastian and Joel. After picking up the boys in the bay, and flying over all of Pizcet, they arrived at the ranch around 8 at night, where Naomi again met with Tony, who was introduced to the other boys in the group, who made a great friendship with Bastian, Roger and Gavin for their fascination with nature, and subsequently, before everyone went to sleep to return to school the next day, Black, Angie and Gavin swore Tony in as a new member of the team under the ranch covenant. Angie took the opportunity to tell them that the shaman revealed to them the true identity of the witch, and it was none other than the director of the school, Professor Silvana Gardner. They all felt surprised, scared and very distressed about what they would experience in the coming months at the school upon learning that the witch Sylvanisha is the director. So the others asked for calm, and that they would realize the situation when they returned to class.